YSL stations.
Now, an hour of clarity for exhausted people of our nation mired in toxic partisanship. Left versus right. Us versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
All right, welcome everyone to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, joined by Tim O'Connor.
I'm here, man. Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday indeed. We're live here on WYSL until 1 p.m. That means that you, the listener, can give us a call. If you want to participate in the show, 866-552-1009. That's 866-552-1009. I think I also have the 585-346-3000 number in the video description too. You can call either one of those numbers. It's all good. We're also live on so many social media channels: the Free Solution Facebook page, Free Solution YouTube channel, Kevin Wilson page, and the Tim O'Connor Facebook page and YouTube channel. Wherever you're listening today, appreciate it. Even if you're listening a little bit later, our friends over at WACK out in Newark, broadcasting a little bit later out there, appreciate you all being here too. So all right.
Yeah, let me ask you. You posted an interesting question on your Facebook page, Kevin, and it got an interesting number of responses and a great, I thought, philosophical discussion. And I was wondering if you kind of want to explore that for a few minutes today. Maybe you and I can actually get to a point where we disagree about something. What do you think?
Yeah, no. So I had posed the question, and let me get the exact question right, because I posed this on Monday too. And we got a caller on Monday who thought I was talking about COVID, and that caller is right. I was thinking about COVID issues too, but it doesn't just apply to that. It applies to a whole bunch of stuff. But the question I had posed is that, do you have the right to take an action or make a decision that exposes other people to danger? And then put another way, how much risk can you impose on people who do not consent to that risk? And just to paint the boundaries around this, I'm not talking about you doing stuff that puts yourself in danger because you choose to do that, right? You want to go skydiving, 100%, that is your deal. You want to eat like raw steak, go for it. It is your right as an American. You eat that raw steak as long as it's your choice. What I'm talking about is stuff that like puts someone else, someone other than you, someone who didn't consent to that situation, in danger. And should we do anything about it, even if that other person isn't actually harmed when you do that thing, but they had a high potential to be harmed?
Yeah, so that automatically, I think my brain goes to, and a lot of people's brains are going to go to this situation with driving, right?
Mm-hmm.
You start your car, there's an inherent risk. You're literally creating mini explosions in front of you, and you're driving down the road. You can't control the conditions. There's a certain amount of danger inherent in everyday life, but driving is inherently dangerous, right? There's a certain amount of risk you take. Now, driving impaired is a different level of risk. And so I think that's where we get into that automatic discussion of how much danger and how much risk do you have the right to put other people in. And I think it's a very interesting discussion for libertarians to have, right? Because we're trying to shrink government, but we do recognize that if we just pull out all the stops, we're going to have some problems.
Yeah. All right. So, like, because I want to dive into some specific examples. You threw out the drunk driving one. Like, I do think that, like, this argument is going to be what is already being used to justify vaccine mandates. So, like, I think we need to talk about that, right? And, like, we need to talk about, well, how do we, like, as people who support limited government, like, grapple with this, and, like, where do we draw the line somewhere, right? So, like,
right.
But the kind of, like, the three broad categories of response is there are, like, the nanny staters, right? There are people who would say, yes, we can limit any one of your liberties at any time as long as it puts anyone in any level of danger. You have no right to put anyone else in danger. There is no cutoff for that risk. The state has a right to regulate that behavior. You know, these are the folks who are going to say stuff like, you know, it's for the children, and that's why we need to be in our homes forever, masks, even if we're all alone. That's this mindset.
Yeah. So can I jump in for a sec?
Go for it.
I think that a lot of those people are responding emotionally to their perception of their world. Okay. I don't think that they have any real concept of risk calculations. And I'd even talk about that a little bit in context when we're talking about COVID, because the notion that just because you get COVID, you're killing grandma and stuff like that, there's a real statistical probability that could be calculated and discussed about whether you have COVID and how dangerous it is to other people. And it would depend on several things, like the level of severity of the illness that you experience, and whether you voluntarily quarantine yourself. Those things can affect that risk, right?
Yeah. No, there's a whole bunch of different factors. And again, a lot of like, I'm going to kind of give the two extreme examples, right? I've given the namesake example. I'm going to give the other extreme example. And then like, I'll talk about like kind of where I fall on this and where most people listening to the show would probably fall, which is somewhere in the middle. And then, we have to figure out what to do about that and where to draw the line, right? So in COVID being one of those issues, so like on the other side of this, right, is like, I don't know, I got a few answers that, they kind of seem a bit, sorry guys, mildly sociopathic to me. The type of folks who say, no, there is no right to limit what I'm able to do, no matter how much danger I am putting other people in. It does not matter. No one has any right to limit that. And that comes from the state or social pressure or anyone else. You have unlimited liberty, no matter how much danger you put someone else in, unless you actually hurt someone. And so like that's the other extreme answer. It says like you could fire a gun into a crowd, and the only time you've committed a crime is if you actually hit someone. Or you could drunk drive, and the only time that should actually be a crime is if you actually kill someone. So there's no role for either state or social pressure to limit your activities unless you cause an actual injury, even if that activity is likely to cause an injury from someone else.
Yeah, so that's the decriminalization argument too. Like it kind of a lot of these philosophical conundrums, and this is a legitimate philosophical conundrum for me as a former liberal, a former conservative, and now a libertarian. That there is a philosophical conundrum here. So someplace in the middle obviously is where we all want to land, but is drunk driving a crime unless there is an actual injury, unless someone does drive off the road? Like, how do we quantify that, Kevin? I think you maybe have an answer here.
Yeah, and again, where I fall and where I imagine many of the listeners fall, it's like, well, okay, yeah, there are some activities that are dangerous enough where we should put some limits on that, right? That could be, those limits do not necessarily have to come from government. They don't necessarily have to come from laws. They can come from social pressure, ostracization, boycotts, whatever, right? Like your liberty requires responsibility. And it also requires consequences for acting in a way that people find reckless and may not want to associate with you. Again, sometimes that can rise to the level of either needing or understanding limitations on that. And so the matter is, again, where do you draw the line on that level of risk? And then what do you actually do about it? And it sounds like we have a caller on the line. John from Kingston, New York is on the line. John, what are your thoughts?
Yes. Hi, Kevin. Hi, Tim.
Hi, John.
Hiya. I heard you talking about, that it seems that some people on the extreme want to say you can take as much risk as you want as long as you don't actually hurt somebody. So you fire into a crowd, for instance, and even though everyone runs away and ducks and does all kinds of things that they wouldn't otherwise do if they were free from that coming bullet, you haven't violated anybody's rights. Well, that's wrong, because from the perspective of libertarian theory, I think what they're overlooking is that the threat of initiating force is also a violation of what we now call the non-aggression principle.
All right, so John, let me ask you a quick question. I like the direction you're heading here. What if I fire a gun up into the air instead of shooting it through a crowd? Is there still the same level of threat there?
If everyone knows you're firing it up into the air, no. Unless, of course, somebody owns the air rights, but I don't want to go there, right?
That's a whole other issue.
Yeah,
that's a property rights issue.
Well, it's all, something though, from a libertarian perspective, although this is not how I would portray it to the general public, it's all property rights. Even your body is in a certain sense property. Now, that's not to demean the importance of bodily integrity. To the contrary, it's to upgrade the importance of property.
Yeah. So, Kevin, I have a conundrum, and John, if you want to chime in,
we might have to push this to the next segment though, because I'm looking at the time. You can pitch this real quick.
All right.
Or do you have time?
I can't. I need to.
All right. You need some time to explain it. So, John, if you want to stick around for the next segment, if you can, wonderful. If you can't, totally understand. But thanks again, folks, for joining us here on A Free Solution. We're going to be back in just a few minutes.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Tyranny.
There's going to be no circumstance where you see people being lifted off the roof from Afghanistan.
No one thinks it can happen here.
Shelter in place until and unless you receive a communication from the U.S. Embassy.
And without our God-given right to self-protection as outlined in the Second Amendment, it can. But this fall, you have the opportunity to stand up for freedom. October 8th, 9th, and 10th, celebrate freedom, faith, and family at the Rod of Iron Freedom Festival. It's America's largest festival for Second Amendment advocacy. With Pastor Sean Moon, Sheriff Richard Mack, Olympian Gabby Franco, Dr. John Lott, Teddy Daniels, and very special guest, radio talk show host and patriot Dana Lash. Plus great live music, vendors, fireworks, and you. Tickets are free at rodofironfreedomfestival.org. That's rodofironfreedomfestival.org. Join us to celebrate freedom.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
A free solution.
All right, welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, joined by Tim O'Connor. We also have John on the line too. But real quick, just a couple comments that came in between. Brian says he is correct. I think he's talking about John. It's all about property rights. Our founders considered everything in those terms. Your life, liberty, and your rights are all your property. And we also got a caller who didn't want to go on the air who made a point about driving and dangerous activities while driving. Pulling out some more of those acceptable trade-offs. we're totally fine with people eating while driving, even though that is also a contributor to accidents, in some ways a significant contributor, but we're all okay with that activity. So fair point, caller. Thanks for calling in and making that point. So Tim, you were going to ask John something, though.
Yeah, well, basically, I've got this idea that when I saw the discussion about danger, there's been times in history where people took danger on. They participated in incredibly dangerous activities, like harnessing the power of gasoline, for example, and harnessing the power of electricity. These things are inherently dangerous, and yet people still took that risk upon themselves to figure out how these things can benefit society. So we're living in a society now, perhaps, that's so concerned with safety that, like, let's say your neighbor was conducting some electrical experiments and you witnessed it. Like, I think that person would get turned in, and I think it would be investigated. And I think that that's a reality now. So have we gone so far away from risk where society's inherently managing it that we're giving up some technological advancement? Maybe.
Unable to move. In other words, can I have an SMR in my backyard on my own? And is that fine? A small modular reactor. Anyway, sorry, I had to throw that in.
It's your property, bro.
Yeah, right. Tim supports me. So, John, do you want to talk about any of that? Make any other points here?
I would just say that at some point, creating a risk becomes a threat of force, because it's such a likelihood that something bad is going to happen. But I would also make the point that not all danger in and of itself, and this I think goes in with what Tim was saying, is what we're concerned about. I mean, the world is full of danger. It's when one person creates a danger that amounts to violating someone else's rights that we step in, either by actually doing it or by doing it in such a way that the community or the individuals around this person feel that they've been threatened. If you don't erect a shield, if you don't run away, if you don't move to a different area, something bad that violates your rights, which is the key, is going to happen to you. Now, it might not ever happen to you, but if you act on that risk, in effect, the person creating it has threatened the initiation of force. Now, the problem is that that could be very subjective, and
I like that subjective word. I think that's an issue we're facing in society, right? There's this subjective perception of a threat that I don't know is accurate.
Right.
Yeah, that's a problem. In the extreme cases, we can all recognize a threat, but and that's where the talk about in an anarchistic society, how would you decide these things? I mean, I suppose we begin with the world as we find it, and I think we, kind of like our job is just to get people to think in these terms, think in terms of the initiation of force or its threat, and ask yourself honestly, is this really a threat? Is this really a threat to violate my rights? Not just a threat of danger, and that was sort of what I sort of didn't agree with Kevin about. Not just a threat of danger in the abstract, in the air, as it were, but danger of a violation of my rights. At that point, if there's a threat of that, that's where we have to do something about it as a society.
I think that's fair, John. I really appreciate your thoughts on this. I think Kevin and I got a few other subjects we want to work on today, but your thoughts are impressive to me, and I want to thank you for your efforts here, bud.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for a call, John. Appreciate it. And so Tim, like as we like wrap up this segment, wrap up like this topic, we do need to get to those practical terms, right? I was thinking of COVID as part of this. Like there's a whole bunch of other issues, right? Like again, is drunk driving an acceptable risk? Is eating while driving an acceptable risk? Is driving itself an acceptable risk? Yes to the latter two, no to the first one, and with good reason. And then are you able to not subjectively, but objectively evaluate the risk of a certain activity? And that's where we get to things like vaccine mandates, right? Like, is the risk of someone being unvaccinated in an environment substantially high enough to warrant state action compared to someone who is vaccinated, right? Like, so what is the risk there? And does that put other people around the unvaccinated person in so much danger that we need the state, not merely like social pressure, to step in here?
Well, first of all, really good ideas don't require force, but we would need some evidence, some really hard evidence that schools are super spreaders, that hospitals are super spreaders. And I don't think that evidence has ever been satisfactorily presented. So when we get into this vaccine mandate of healthcare workers, it is, and like, guys, Holchel's handling of it has been even worse than the actual mandate itself. When we get into there, people have the right to take on a certain amount of risk, and being unvaccinated, in my mind, is an acceptable level of risk. If we had evidence that hospitals were a super spreader, that it was the people in the hospital spreading COVID, I think that maybe my mind would change, but I don't feel like that evidence is out there.
Yeah. And again, we have a couple, like in schools, for instance, like so far, schools haven't been a significant source of spread. Again, maybe that could change. I'm open to acknowledging that could change in the future, right?
Sure.
But so far, that hasn't been the case. And then with hospitals too, the mandate applies to even people who aren't necessarily like patient facing, support staff. All right. So like, if that's the case, what level of danger do they actually pose to the vulnerable patient population if they're not interacting with them on a regular basis?
I agree. Like,
and even if they did, like, does that level of danger warrant a mandate?
First of all, I think I wrestle with this issue. I don't think that the vaccine mandates for healthcare workers make sense based on the statistics as we know them right now. Could that change down the road? Sure. Could COVID mutate into something that spreads even easier? Because it does seem to spread pretty easy. But people in hospitals are already taking precautions. They've already successfully managed the out.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if you got cut off there, but yeah, kind of continuing Tim's points too. It's like, there's other ways to mitigate this too. Like, and that's also like, is there an alternative to state force here, right? Like, does it require a mandate, or are there other ways to mitigate that danger, through PPE, through masking, through better ventilation, through testing, right? And that's like what the schools have gotten, is that you don't have to be vaccinated necessarily. If you're an employee at school, you can also test out. So you do have an alternative there, at least. And again, if you guys want me to want to think about this even more, like the consequences of the vaccine mandate, I did my whole show Monday on this too, and not just like moral and philosophical reasons for opposing a vaccine mandate, but like the practical, consequential reasons for doing this too. Tim, do I have you back yet? I don't know if you got back yet. I wanted to give you a chance to respond here, but those are some of the issues that we have consideration. So like, and I bring all this up. I asked this question because you're going to see the progressives making this argument, right? That vaccine mandates are necessary because this is the only way to handle this issue. The only way to handle this issue is with state force, is with mandates, is requiring everyone. And I'm making the argument that this might not rise to the level of danger where this is necessary in every case, and B, this isn't the best way to handle it. We don't need a top-down, one-size-fits-all mandate for this situation. There are better ways for people to be able to handle it, and it should be left primarily to the employers themselves to decide what is best for their employees and their patients. All right, thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. If you want to participate in the show, give us a call. 866-552-1009. That's 866-552-1009. We're going to be back in just a few minutes with more on A Free Solution.
Fly the flag, stand for freedom. AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the Newstead NBC Weather Center for today. A little chill in the air to start, but it should turn out to be a nice afternoon. We'll see a little bit more in the way of some sunshine today. Plus, temperatures will get back up into the 60s for a high. Cool and dry tonight down near 50. A beautiful Saturday coming up. Sun and clouds milder in the 70s. Enjoy as some rain will come in at times on Sunday. I'm Rich Cadelia, WYSL.
Need help with health insurance? The Greece Regional Chamber provides assistance with health insurance for businesses, nonprofits, families, and individuals throughout our region. We pride ourselves on the personalized service that we provide for our clients. Let us help you find health insurance plans that fit your needs and navigate the paperwork. Greece Chamber Benefit Partners, located at 2402 Westridge Road in Rochester, New York, offers a broad range of medical insurance plans for businesses, nonprofits, individuals, and families throughout the greater Rochester Finger Lakes region, working with insurance companies including Excelis Blue Cross Blue Shield, Univera, and MVP Healthcare. We can also help you access insurance plans through the New York State of Health, the official health plan marketplace. Again, you do not need to live or work in Greece to utilize our brokerage services. We serve the greater Rochester Finger Lakes region of New York State. Visit greecechamber.org to sign up for one of our free health insurance information sessions or schedule an appointment with one of our licensed brokers. Call 585-227-7272. 585-227-7272.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Dear Dr. Sussman.
Dear Dr. Sussman, I just wanted to write to all the wonderful people who work with Dr. Sussman and Dr. Pogel at the Center for Cosmetic Dentistry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Each person in the office made me feel my smile.
Not only am I completely happy with my smile, but I feel you've been there for me with all my dentistry.
I've had several dentists in my life, but never a dentist of your caliber. You have state-of-the-art.
You keep current in your field as evidenced by your numerous diplomas and certificates. And your entire staff is really the cream of the crop.
I'm thrilled with the outcome of your skills and artistry. It's made such a difference in my life.
Dr. Sussman, Dr. Pogel, and the entire staff at the Center for Cosmetic Dentistry take great pride in providing not only advanced dental care, but extraordinary cosmetic dentistry. They love what they do and have a partnership with their patients toward long-term dental health.
For a bright, confident, beautiful smile.
Thank you, Dr. Sussman.
Thank you, Dr. Pogel.
Thank you.
Change your life, change your smile.
For more information, call the Center for Cosmetic Dentistry at 22 Smile or visit 22-smile.com.
Looking for something meaningful to do? As a Camp Good Days volunteer, you'll work with children and adults who will inspire you. Just listen to what one volunteer says about her experience.
It's unlike any other thing that I've ever experienced in my life. I won the lottery 10 times fold. My husband and I plan all year on what we're going to do for these kids.
Learn more about many volunteer opportunities at Camp Good Days and Special Times On the web at campgooddays.org.
Oh my gosh, I love that color. It's really amazing. What shade is that? Oh, what a great choice. Really love it. It's so you.
Thanks. It just makes me happy. You'll have to come over again soon to see what I do with the other rooms.
Transform your walls with a perfect color from Benjamin Moore and brighten up your home with something fun to look forward to every day. Benjamin Moore. Transform. Find your perfect color to transform your walls today. Visit Smith Lumber and Hardware Center in Lakeville.
Has your favorite pizza place been letting you down? Try Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten-Free Bakery in Avon. Not only is their pizza amazing, but their full menu and bakery has something for everyone. Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten-Free Bakery, Avon.
Buying a car has never been easier at Ralph Honda. With our online shopper, find the car that's right for you, right from your home. Visit us online to value your trade-in, personalize a payment that fits your budget, chat with a team member, and schedule your pickup. It's that simple. For 3 generations, Ralph Honda.
A free solution. A free solution.
All right, welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, joined by Tim O'Connor, who I thought had abandoned me for just a little bit.
But I did not. I'm here, man. I am here. Yes. I think my broadcast studio has some issues that I've got to upgrade or work on the technical understanding of how things work here.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll get to a couple more comments on this thing, though. I know we had a caller on the line, but it sounds like your call got dropped. If you want to call in, though, give us a call, 866-552-1009. That's 866-552-1009. Again, I know we had a call on the line, but the call got dropped. Give us a call back if you want to participate in the discussion. But I'll get to one of the online comments. Here it says from Brian. He says, 5 state governors force confirmed COVID-19 patients in the nursing homes. The death from those nursing homes account for 40% of all COVID-19 deaths. He said unverified statistic. I don't know what the actual number is. I know in New York it was a big percentage, an unacceptable percentage of people. And Brian Sutton goes on to ask, what should be done to those governors? Tim?
I think that they should lose their elections for sure, just to begin with. I think we can use a litmus test of their COVID response and just decide that we don't want people like that in charge anymore.
Should they go to jail? They've imposed a risk on others too with their decisions.
Absolutely, and they're continuing that risk, I think. But so could they go to jail for it? Yes. Will they go to jail for it? Absolutely not. Right? We have issues of qualified immunity. We have there's problems with putting them in jail. They're not going to go to jail. Should they? Probably.
Yeah, confirmed. Not just imposing the risk on others, but actually hurt people with the decisions. But the qualified immunity thing is important to point out, because it's not just a police thing. It's also like a kind of other government official thing too. It's that basically if they take an action that isn't like otherwise unlawful, that they can't be prosecuted for those decisions made like as a government official. And that's like a really glossed over version of that. But that's basically.
But listen, I think that let's explode the understanding of that, because I think people don't understand the broad-reaching impacts of qualified immunity. Okay, Cuomo will never face justice for their nursing home situation because of qualified immunity. That's an absolute fact. And that's why libertarians rail against it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, we see the direct harm that's caused, but unless there is the action that they took already has a precedent for showing that it violated someone else's constitutional rights, and it was done in exactly the same way. And I mean, like exactly like there's a case recently, and I'm going to get some of the details a little bit mixed up here, but it's pretty close. Where basically a jail guard was got qualified immunity because they had injured a prisoner in their custody and had dragged the prisoner across the floor, and it left a streak of blood. And what the court said is basically like, well, there's no precedent that leaving a streak of blood is a violation of someone's constitutional right, even though there was another case where it was shown that leaving blood splatter was a violation of constitutional rights, but because it was a streak instead of a splatter, somehow that prison guard got qualified immunity.
The judges really want to protect the people that are operating in the institution. Some level, we can understand that police officers face false accusations all the time.
Yeah,
that's one of the issues where qualified immunity becomes a conundrum, right? You can get a strange conviction if you face a jury. So there is a conundrum with qualified immunity, but I think we've got to lower its scope and scale on some level. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit frustrated with that one.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. And yeah, so I mean that's the main stuff I got on that. I know we wanted to talk about a few other issues today. Again, if you still want to call in and talk about this issue or leave your comments on this issue, though, we're happy to address those. Give us a call 866-552-1009. That's 866-552-1009 or local number 585-346-3000. Call either one of those. You don't even have to go on air if you don't want to. You can go on air and talk to us if you want, as long as you're nice. Just gotta be polite
and don't swear.
Just don't swear. My goodness, please don't do that. Or you can leave a message to our producer too. But Tim, I know there's a couple other things we want to talk about. Unless you got anything else to say about this philosophical conundrum that I've thrown out there, and if you want to jump into that mess of a discussion that is on my page too, go to the facebook.com/Kevin Wilson ROC. Participate in the discussion. It is fun. It is messy. It is complicated. But jump on in.
Those are the ways we learn about each other, and that's how we communicate, and I think that's okay. There was nothing wrong with any of the communication I saw on the page. It definitely illustrated the extremes. It definitely saw the role of moderation, and even one of my favorite philosophers out there kind of made the point that it's libertarianism can be a touchstone, and it would be hard to implement 100% in society, and I get that.
Yeah. No, it's not the framework most people are operating from, and it's not even a perfect framework to think about. The non-aggression principle, whether or not you're violating someone's rights to life, liberty, and property through your actions, and whether or not violating someone's rights requires actually causing injury versus the threat of injury. It does it matter if it's intentional or not? That was another question people were debating too. If you accidentally hurt someone, does it matter? Well, in our legal system, yeah. I mean, that's why we have the different degrees of murder, manslaughter, unintentional homicide, that type of stuff. So our legal system parses that out. But if we're just talking philosophically, this type of society that we want to create, how much does it matter? And then how much should the state, which uses violence, that's the nature of the state, it uses violence or the threat of violence to get people to comply with its will, or if you're being generous about it, the will of the people. That
if you're being generous.
Yeah, I don't want to be generous. It's often it feels like an oligarchy. So
yeah.
Do we want to concede the moral legitimacy of state violence in this situation, or can we explore other ways of doing that? Right. Again, there's also social pressure, boycotts, or just again, if it's a much different situation, with the vaccine mandate situation, it's a much different situation if an individual employer says, I want to do this thing, this is a requirement for a job, versus the state saying every employer of this type has to do this thing.
Correct. It's a world of difference for sure.
Yeah. Not that you can still disagree with it, but it's,
right. There's still issues of privacy and things like that. I think we're kind of confused about in society. So I'd like to see some clarity. There's parts of the discussion that I value, and I don't like the government obviously forcing us to do things. Hey, do I have time to give a shout out to Larry Sharp?
Yes, actually. Oh no, that's a good reminder, because I want to remind everyone that Larry Sharp is going to be in the Rochester area. He's going to be at the Dutch Mill restaurant Sunday at 11 a.m. October 3rd.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so if you want to come see Larry Sharp, he's going to be in town.
Well,
Not
and
just
then
hearing him on Tuesdays. You can come see him Sunday.
Guess what? On Monday, October 4th, he's going to be in Otsego County, and it is shaping up to be a tremendous event. We've got Thomas Daniel Queter coming. Cody Anderson said he may show up. I, of course, am going to be there, and I'm going to run my mouth, guys. It's going to be a really interesting event, as is Kevin's. Larry is dynamic. I love what he's doing, and I love how he shares his message and how he puts a nice spin on all of our message, on our desire to see a better and more effective governing system. More libertarian, too, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, Larry, look, I strive to be as good as him at communicating that message and not jumping into these just turning that abstract discussion about like the level of risk into something tangible and policy oriented. And that's what Larry's really good at. And that's what I appreciate about him.
Wonderful at it. I agree.
All right. So anyway, look up they're on his page too, both these events on the Larry Sharp page. So if you want to meet one of the hosts of A Free Solution, I'll be there at the Sunday event too for like a teeny tiny bit. And that sounds like Tim will be there at the Monday event. Go check him out. We'll be back with more on A Free Solution in just a few minutes.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Tyranny.
There's going to be no circumstance where you see people being lifted off the roof from Afghanistan.
No one thinks it can happen here.
Shelter in place until and unless you receive a communication from the U.S. Embassy.
And without our God-given right to self-protection as outlined in the Second Amendment, it can. But this fall, you have the opportunity to stand up for freedom. October 8th, 9th, and 10th, celebrate freedom, faith, and family at the Rod of Iron Freedom Festival. It's America's largest festival for Second Amendment advocacy. With Pastor Sean Moon, Sheriff Richard Mack, Olympian Gabby Franco, Dr. John Lott, Teddy Daniels, and very special guest, radio talk show host and patriot Dana Lash. Plus great live music, vendors, fireworks, and you. Tickets are free at rodofironfreedomfestival.org. That's rodofironfreedomfestival.org. Join us to celebrate freedom.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
A free solution.
The last thing the American people need right now is a government shutdown.
Wow.
Oh my God, that guy can shut the front door. I am so tired of Chuck Schumer. I'm not even kidding.
Chuck Schumer, I'm rating that statement fake news.
Fake news. Give us a break from the government for one day.
Just one day, an actual break too. It's always like not funny, but like whenever like there's a government shutdown, it's like the government's still doing a ton of activity, but like making it more inconvenient for like average Americans to like interact with anything run by the federal government. They'll put up barriers to stuff like around the national monuments, which is hilarious because people could just get around them if they want to. But then it does stop a whole bunch of pay for a bunch of folks, and that's
Yeah, I heard a story about it. Military guys and girls lose the ability to get paid and take care of their responsibilities, and that, I guess, when we shut down the government, is a real concern. So there are lots of reasonable, real concerns about shutting down the government. But if we could maybe just shut down media and Congress and Senate's access to the media, that would be a shutdown enough.
just don't talk anymore, guys. Just hush.
Just hush. You just passed you're fighting over a dumb law. You're going to spend the money. We know you guys are all modern monetary theorists. You're going to spend, all of them are modern monetary theorists, all of them, Republicans, Democrats, all of them. They're arguing over minutia based on their belief system, but they all believe that the government is the primary spender and the driver of the economy. All of them believe that.
Yeah. What's it? I mean, it's been like, well, a couple of interesting things about that, right? It's like one, like we do this dance every more frequently now about the debt ceiling stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so like that's coming up again. It sounds like they are coming to a deal on some sort of continuing resolution to fund the government for at least a few more months, and that's what that's what I said we're gonna do too. It's like, all right, yeah, we're gonna fund it, kick the can down the road a little bit more, just increase the spending slightly across the board, and
that's what's going to happen. That's what always happens. And they put on this show every single time, and the media eats it up and delivers it to us. And I'd love to see people other than us just going, you know what, doesn't matter anything that these guys say. We got another continuing resolution. The government's funded through December. Now they can argue over, again, minutia and try to make Republicans look bad, try to make Democrats look bad, solve no real problems, and spend an absolute boatload of your children's future right down the road, man.
Yeah. And this time around, like no one other than like maybe like Joe Manchin a little bit, the senator from West Virginia, has really talked about like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be spending this much money. And the Republicans are doing that like a little bit, but like I don't give a whole bunch of credit to that, because like under Trump, the Republicans were all fine with this. But now that like Joe Biden's the president and like the Democrats have control of the House, so suddenly like, oh hey, we got to talk about spending all this money. All right, guys, like where were you when it mattered, when you had actual control over this? You were nowhere. You didn't care. It didn't matter.
They spent like crazy, and they always spend like crazy. And to me, when we start feeling it in our pocketbooks, maybe we'll start paying attention. But even the moderate amount of inflation that we're experiencing now, with all the substantial government programs and the promises of giveaways, people are not paying attention. I do think we're headed for a crisis. We just haven't seen it. That's a problem.
Yeah, it's I mean, like in the thoughts of many people, it's like, well, we've spent all of this money before and it hasn't broken us yet. So maybe this time we're fine still.
So look, on Fridays we do fake news, right?
Yeah, we played the fake news theme. So Tim, you got some fake news or potentially fake news for us? What we got?
Potentially fake news, right? This is a government-funded study that decided to compare behavior traits of human beings and your average squirrel. And what they developed was like this whole table of behavior traits, and they compared the human being to a number of animals, and the conclusion was,
oh my goodness. Oh, we lost Tim. We're never gonna know the conclusion now. Guys, we're gonna be, unless we get Tim back on the line.
Sorry about that.
Oh, Tim, are you back on?
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you, Tim. Tim, you're just gonna have to call in. You're gonna have to call in. Otherwise, we're not gonna know the conclusion of that study.
I'm back.
You're back.
I'm back.
Yeah, you're about to leave us on a cliffhanger there. And the conclusion of that study was
that the squirrel, the average squirrel, is it has the personality traits of human beings. Like, do you think that's fake news?
Yeah, I do. Well,
It sounds fake. It does. But guess what, man? I came across the wire this morning on my way to work. It's absolutely true. Human beings and your average squirrel, their personality traits. And who was watching squirrels and judging their personality traits? Like what is going on there?
all right. So
how do
you're saying this is a real study. We haven't necessarily concluded that squirrels are the most human-like animals. They share the most personality
behavioral traits.
Behavioral traits. Right?
It was a behavioral trait study. And they're like, squirrels are a lot like humans. That was the conclusion of the study. I'm not sure I'm presenting it 100% accurate because I get a little bit ridiculous on Fridays, but it's close, man. And that's what we're dealing with. We got people out there making money to tell us that the behavior traits of squirrels and the behavior traits of humans are incredibly similar.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we see groups of people going around chewing on power lines and knocking out our power constantly. Like, just, like I see the kids out there doing it. I get the spray bottles out. No, you stop it, kids. Not
Squirrels
today.
aren't
Not
real,
knocking out my
man.
internet.
I see you, squirrel, sabotaging my future. Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
I do have another one if
go
you're
ahead.
interested, right? All right.
Go ahead.
This I'm referring back to a High Times article back from this one actually goes back a few years. I think it was 1997, but let me put it out there. The miracles, and guys, the Bible has some historical accuracy. There's things that happen. So this guy Jesus performed miracles. One by serving his community. A lot of things that he did were really good. So some of the miracles, some of the healing powers, the High Times article makes the case that he was using medicinal cannabis oil. Real news or fake news?
I believe that this was a real news article. I believe that someone made that argument. Now, was Jesus using cannabis to heal people? I don't know about that.
What they say is that they have a historical record of Jesus using, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was like fool boron or something like that. And that later translated into a root, but that it was actually a mistranslation sometimes around the time of the King James Bible, and that it was actually the medicinal uses for cannabis. So
interesting.
You actually hit it pretty good. Like your answer was right on the money. I give you full credit.
Right. Yes, I believe that someone made that argument. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't know. I don't know enough about like translation between various versions of the Bible to know if Jesus was giving people cannabis. Like, color me skeptical on that one. But maybe
cannabis has been around for a long time. People have been
particularly in that region too. Like it was used recreationally and medicinally in that region, thousands of years ago.
If I was a fact checker, I would rate it as plausible.
Plausible. There we go. Plausible, but not confirmed. It could be true.
We'll, certainly they got the the author got it into the realm of plausibility and possibility. So I enjoyed the article.
Yeah. All right. Oh man, so I totally ran out of time for mine because like I was gonna drop like a heavier fake news item on you, and we've got like a minute left to talk about that. So no,
no, we can't do it.
No. It's about a study related to COVID and kids and a bunch of stuff, and it's one of those things that it sounded true, got my attention. I was like, ooh, I'm gonna research this. This seems legit. But what will I will not give I'm going to leave everyone else on that cliffhanger you almost left us on. But,
take care, everybody.
All right. Thanks for joining us here on A Free Solution. Thanks, Tim, for being on. We'll be back on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend, folks.